everyone, happy N7 Day. Welcome to our Twitch stream.
Hey guys in Montreal, we'd like you to mute the stuff, please.
Anyway, sorry about that. Welcome to our Twitch stream and happy N7 Day. We are excited to be talking with you guys and showing you a few things today in honor of N7 Day, because obviously the community is first, and we really appreciate you all tuning in. My name is Mike Gamble. I'm a producer on the franchise.
Yeah, Mac Walters, creative director on the Mass Effect franchise right now. We're wishing you a warm N7 day from a very cold and chilly Edmonton. We also have some folks from Montreal that want to say hi.
Hi everyone, happy N7 Day. I'm Fabrice Colavinas. I'm the producer for Mass Effect at BioWare Montreal.
And I'm Chris Wynn, the Senior Development Director here on the next Mass Effect.
And I'm Yannick Roy. I'm the Studio Director for BioWare Montreal. So before we go further into a bit of our background here and introducing ourselves a bit more, I wanted to take a second to mention that this year is a bit of a special N7 day because usually for N7, all of BioWare's focus really is on Mass Effect. It's a sci-fi franchise, but also on its fans. This year, because of Dragon Age having only recently gone gold and being on the verge of release, it has received deservedly, a lot of the attention leading to now. Dragon Age is a project that has required a lot of effort from the team, so I wanted to take time to thank the team for all their effort, but also congratulate them on putting together what is really, really a great game. And I want to tell them that I'm convinced that it will get the great reception that it deserves. As the guy in charge of Mass Effect, of course, I also have to express how happy I am to see that a lot of people who were on Dragon Age up until recently are now transferring onto our project. And with them, they bring all the experience they acquired building the first BioWare RPG on the Frostbite engine, and it's helping us really take things to the next level with our game here. So yeah, maybe now we can talk a little bit more about us. Our bios, as some of you might know, were posted earlier on this morning for some of the team members there. But basically, I've been with BioWare for almost 9 years now. This was my first job in the game industry. But right from the beginning, I was involved with the Mass Effect franchise, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, playing different roles there. So I was lucky enough because coming to BioWare, I came as a huge fan of playing Baldur's Gate, playing Knights of the Old Republic, playing Jade. So for me, it was really a privilege to be able to spend my entire career working on not only within BioWare but on a franchise like Mass Effect. We have people who have joined us more recently, but who are as passionate about BioWare and Mass Effect as a franchise.
Yeah, I'm the newest guy here on the stream, having just joined BioWare a little over a year ago. I have a little over 15 years of experience in the industry, and I've had the incredible opportunity to work on a lot of very, very successful franchises. I still, even today, waking up, I remember the day I got the email to see if there'd be any interest in coming and joining BioWare to work on Mass Effect. It was a no-brainer, and I couldn't reply fast enough because I've been such a massive fan of this franchise since it first appeared on Xbox. For me, it was that kind of science fiction fantasy. I grew up in the '80s. I grew up around Star Wars and a lot of other big science fiction, franchises, and to be able to see that brought to life and fill some of those childhood fantasies for me was something that I just haven't seen in any other video gaming franchises. So the ability to come and contribute and work on a lot of this great stuff, one as a fan, and two as being someone who works in the industry, was just something I was not going to say no to, and I couldn't say no to. And so I've had a lot of highlights in my career. This so far is probably the biggest right now. What we're looking to do with this Mass Effect, as we'll get ready to show you some of this stuff, is just really, really exciting. And to be able to work with these guys has just been great.
So I've started in the video game industry around the same time, 14, 15 years ago, as a game designer in France. To give you an idea, I've designed a multiplayer game on Java, with Java, so it gives you an idea how old that was. But since then I work on a lot of genres, probably about all the genres and platforms. Um, and I've also produced a number of work in a different industry. I produced some music videos. I did some research in semantic technology as an ontologist, and no, I won't explain what that is. um, but the most important part for me is that one of the reasons I started in the video game industry at that point, even if I have no clue what a game designer was because mostly because of a game called Baldur's Gate that I know a lot of people have fond memories of. So it tells you an idea how excited I was when 10 years later I got an opportunity to join the Bioware studio here in Montreal. It was a brand new studio, and they offered me a production job to take care at the time of the creative team based in Montreal. And from there, I worked on Mass Effect 3, did a lot of multiplayer level cinematics. So, again, all the creative team that were based in Montreal. And we work a lot on DLCs, especially the Omega DLC. And moving to the next Mass Effect, now we're working as the main producer for Montreal and with my counterpart in Edmonton, who's Mike over there.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Um, First, before I talk about myself, the people on the stream and the people who gave their bios earlier today, they're just a part of the leadership team on the game. Just to remember that we're basically comprised of a whole bunch of different individuals, and we're going to continue to be showcasing some of these individuals as time goes on. So what you're seeing today is kind of just a subset. Anyway, uh, I've been in the industry about 9 years. I've worked with EA previously at EAC, and I moved to BioWare about 5.5 years ago. And I can easily say that BioWare is my favorite game dev studio that I've ever worked with. The talent here has been absolutely amazing, and it's been great to work with all the great individuals. I think that when I first started on Mass Effect 2, it was one of the most rewarding experiences for me. I learned a lot about what it means to make a Bioware game, and making a Bioware game is a very different kind of experience. Um, so when I worked on Mass Effect 2, I learned a lot, and basically that was a really great project. And then afterwards, I was given the opportunity to lead some of the DLC pieces. Lair the Shadow Broker was one of those. Many of you that little gem. And then moving into Mass Effect 3, I was producer for various different features, working again with the team. And I led the development of all the DLC, or most of the DLC rather. After the end of Mass Effect 3, I moved on to multiplayer DLC, single player DLC. Some of those things included co-producing the Citadel, working with the extended cut, free DLCs that we did for Mass Effect. So it's been a great ride for me so far. I think that taking all of the experience that I've had from the previous games into the new game is going to be really important. Making sure that this does feel like a Mass Effect game, that's one of my primary motives here, and just to have fun doing it.
Yeah, fans out there, I'm sure you're familiar with my role in the past Mass Effect games as lead writer on Mass Effect 2 and 3, and maybe even all the way back to Jade Empire. I've been in Mass Effect Mass Effect World for almost 10 years now, and I think for me right now, the most exciting thing I'm seeing is that this is a universe that I had a part in helping to build with a fantastic team on the trilogy, and we accomplished so much on that. And yet now, working with this other team, they're bringing such a high level of passion and a new vision towards what we're doing that it's exciting to be at work, pretty much every day, because we're going to see some concepts here in a second, and they're holding on to that Mass Effect legacy, what we know to be true about it, but we're also just using that as a foundation to leap forward to do new and exciting things.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the whole idea of making the next Mass Effect game is not to simply do Mass Effect 4, right? As we said before, the idea is to really bring the franchise forward, really introduce a whole bunch of new concepts there. And speaking of concepts, we always like to give our fans kind of the first look at things. We've done that before with our panels. We've done that before with many different things, and this is no exception. So on N7 Day, we want to talk a little bit about some of the concepts that we've been preparing for the next Mass Effect and how those are inspiring us and guiding our development.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things I always like to talk about, because I get asked this a lot about well, what comes first? Is it the writing or the design for a concept like this, or is the art lead? And the answer to that is it depends. A lot of times, design and writing does sort of have an early vision for things, but then we'll see a concept like this. For me personally, back when I was writing, I'd see something like this, and it would inspire me to go off and write even more, which and in turn might cause the next round of iterations on this concept we're working on, and it's very much a back and forth, and it's part of what I think really makes game design so much fun and so rewarding, is that it is that sort of chance to go into work to inspire someone, but in turn be inspired.
Now, I think it's pretty obvious in this one that we the Mako down there in the bottom. So can you tell us a little bit about that? We're hearing a lot of people excited about it.
So the game that we've talked about so far and that we're building, first of all, it's at its core a Mass Effect game. It's a game that's deeply about characters, deeply about story. But one of the main pillars that we have is also based on exploration. And we've shown a few things to that end so far. This is just another. So obviously you see the Mako down there. We've previously shown the Mako. And part of the experience is, exploring the vastness of space, exploring the vastness of these different kinds of planets, alien planets, more terrestrial looking planets, things like that. So this is just one example of one of the types of experience that we want to be building for you guys.
Yeah, and I think what's important also when you look at those concepts is the inspirational part of it. This is the key and the use of those concepts. So they are here to give you a mood, a general feeling around what we're going for. And regarding the Mako, it's also important now. Everybody knows that the Mako is back, but bringing back the Mako is one thing. Then you need to offer in that game the opportunities to use it the best way possible, and to use it, as Mike mentioned, exploration being one of the main pillars of our game. It is also what you see in those concepts, and the next ones are not on which terrain and which capacity you use it, but what feeling are we looking for.
Yeah, to kind of build on, you might have heard Mike earlier say, what our goal is to not build Mass Effect 4. It's beyond that, and what our goal really is to build the biggest Mass Effect yet. And that includes new locations, like you can see here. It includes an all new story and all new characters, and it's just I think that's really unique to BioWare and really key to BioWare's culture and success, is the ability to kind of shoot very, very high and then have the ability to go off and achieve it. It's something that the team gets excited about, and we're pretty sure it's something that the fans are going to be excited about as well.
Right from the beginning, exploration is something that I was pushing for, and the return of the Mako, because for me, the inspiration that we need to take cannot be limited only to the last entry in the Mass Effect trilogy. It really needs to be about looking at what was best in all three of the first three games, basically, and take the best out of it. And I always was a big fan of the Mako myself, not necessarily the handling, but everything else about it. And to me, that was an important part of it. And if you look at the vision that you have for a game and the vision that you have for a game like Mass Effect, how this becomes a game is highly influenced by the team that you put on working on that vision and the technology that you get to use for it. So the fact that we are starting with what is absolutely true to a Mass Effect game, but we're putting a new team on it, and we're using the Frostbite engine, and actually we are focusing on the current gen platform now, what used to be not so long ago be called next gen platforms, and PC. Basically, we can take things to a different level and ultimately deliver an experience that is even truer to the initial vision, because many of those imitations are removed now.
So we want to underscore the depth and diversity of the exploration experience a little bit. Obviously, what you saw in Mass Effect 1, we're shooting for a lot more diversity in terms of the planet types, in terms of the types of experiences that you can have on these worlds. Let's take a look at the next concept. So this goes to show that we're just shooting for a bunch of different kinds of experiences. As Yannick was saying before, the Mako is important to us, and how we represent the Mako and that exploration experience. Obviously, we're still building and figuring out and prototyping a lot of that great stuff. But really, what we want to do is keep on increasing the depth of that.
And I think an interesting point too is that when you take on exploration in the way that we are as one of the main pillars in the game, you really have to look at the gameplay. You go back and you look at the Uncharted worlds of Mass Effect 1, and some of the Mako or vehicle play in Mass Effect 2, one of the things that we always wanted to be able to explore more in that as developers was, well, what else can you do on these worlds? And so one of the things that one of our challenges that we're really focusing on right now is, well, this is fantastic. You can drive around in here. What else can you do? Or what else can you even do, with the Mako? So that's a lot of our exploration right now, is really delving into what makes it not just, awe-inspiring as these images show, but what makes it fun. Something that you could, you're just excited to go off on these little adventures to these worlds.
Yeah, I think a great early win for the team, and I'm jumping in because I'm so excited about this personally. The handling of the new Mako is just awesome.
Yeah.
It is literally just so much fun to drive. It's quite a bit different than what you experienced before. I've literally gotten lost just driving around planets just because it's fun and I kind of forget what I'm doing.
Or is it just because you've got bad directions there, Win? Let's be
Well,
honest.
It's true. I do rely on GPS.
But we do, and it's true. We do have a lot of people who play actual beat, and they can drive around for 20, 30 minutes without any specific reasons, and that gives you an idea of how good just the handling is, and how that's efficient, and how we can also encourage anybody to explore planets, any form of location with the Mako, even if they don't necessarily have a very specific goal at that given time, just because it's enjoyable to go there. And also, I think we can mention that the roots of bringing back the Mako takes place in Mass Effect 1, as Yannick mentioned. But I think also one of the main reasons is, for example, Mike and I have met hundreds of fans in all sorts of Comic Con, etc., etc., and it keeps coming back from the community. And this is extremely important. They systematically mention the Mako, and then when we dig into it, as you mentioned, maybe not the handling, although it gave a lot of very funny YouTube videos that were very successful. But it's the idea and the feeling that they have, and I think this is also what we try to capture. So the Mako is just one of the tools that will help us capture that.
Right from our first interactions with fans, when we're discussing the next Mass Effect, I remember that sentence that one of the guys told us, where it's called Mass Effect, not Tiny Effect, so the game needs to be massive, and that kind of drove some of the initial thinking around it, around exploration. And again, you can't explore space on foot, so bringing back vehicles was kind of natural. And part of what we're not going to go through 1,000 pieces of concept art here, but part of what we're trying to even from the beginning, was this concept of the balance between those environments being beautiful, but at the same time having a sense of danger. Because pure beautiful environments that you go to, that's vacationing. Exploration is really about feeling that you're seeing something that's unique, that is very special to you. But there's always this little sense of danger because you're the first there, or there's a reason why it feels like exploration, basically.
Yeah. So to kind of riff on that a bit, speaking of the beautiful environments that we have put together, it's also important to know that we're not forcing the player to do one single type of experience, right? We're not forcing the player into the Mako all the time. We're not forcing the player to invoke in a driving game. This is a game about choice, and we want to just have the Mako as one ingredient of that. So as you see here, we've got another a concept. This is pretty evocative of something you may or may not have seen before. I think that when building this, we've put a lot of effort into bringing back some of the old themes, but matching it up with a lot of the new themes that we want to push for Mass Effect. As you can see, obviously the cool sky LEDs there in the background, a lush living environment, probably not terrestrial, maybe in space, who knows. That's for you guys to speculate a little bit on.
Yeah, I think it's a good point when we talk about the legacy of Mass Effect and what people what are those grounding things that sort of, to various groups, fans, that is Mass Effect. And I think obviously the Citadel and Presidium experience from Mass Effect 1 and 2 and 3 is one of those things that people sort of look at and almost expect to see, no matter whether it was, if it was a book you're reading, a movie, if it's a future game, like what we're working on, you need to see something, as Mike said, that's evocative of that. And I think that was one of the things that we were striving for when we, not just in this specific concept, but throughout the Mako. Fabrice was talking about, the fans have talked about that a lot and how much that means to them. We want to make sure that we're bringing some of those things back with a twist, something new to them as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, what I wanted to add there is like it kind of ties into the previous point. But I remember even on Mass Effect 1 having conversations with Derek, Derek West, who was the art director on the first trilogy, was mentioning about how important it is to build places where players just want to spend time in. You go there and you kind of get lost just marveling at the beauty of the environment. And we absolutely want, as you can see in here, to have those kind of environments where you just want to spend time in.
Yeah, and I think it's even, with new technology available to us and new consoles and PCs that we're able to, obviously to take that to another level and show things at a higher level of fidelity than you've ever seen before or ever even maybe expected. Some of the early work that's kind of going on in our engine is just beautiful.
So you've got the concept, obviously, of existing familiar faces. The types of races and species that you would expect from a Mass Effect game. Obviously, since we really want to push this franchise more, we are definitely developing new species, new alien races, and because of that, these new species, these new aliens, do have their own architecture. So let's take a look at the next concept. Here's an example of the architecture and potentially the home of some of our new races. See kind of a very non-angular, a very rounded approach, kind of grounded. It looks like it's more built into the environment as opposed to kind of jutting out. Again, whenever we make a new species or a new race in these games, it's really important that we fully flesh them out. And part of doing that is kind of developing a lot of their culture, a lot of their backstory, and this is one example of that.
And you can see in this that tying it into the environment more. In this case, you can imagine this as being part of a world that you would land on. And one of the things that obviously is bringing exploration up as one of the pillars that we're doing is finding a way to have that interwoven throughout the game so that it's not just, oh, here's your exploration section, now here's your non-exploration section, and trying to find ways to tie all those things together. And that's what a lot of the concepts that we're working on right now, especially like this, that are trying to evoke so that we remember as we're developing the game that we don't just want these beautiful areas where you can only just walk around. They should be tied to something larger as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important to specify also that when we talk about exploration, we're not only talking about discovering locations, and we're also talking about cultural exploration and actually discovering those new races or even sometimes known races. But there's that entire aspect that exploration is not only about the geography or the terrain that is around you. It's really about discovering other species, human species, and yourself ultimately. So.
Yeah, this concept is one of my favorite concepts so far that our team has done, and they kick out, boy, I don't know, probably over 1,000 by now. What I really like about this one is kind of in contrast to the second one we showed, where Yannick talked about, it's that idea of it's very beautiful, but at the same time it's unknown and dangerous. And this is an area that's already been established in, and it is very beautiful, but you can tell by the settlements and by that people have habitated here that it's a good place. It's a nice place to go stay and kind of check out. And I also think it implies that the people who live here are peaceful, just in the way they're integrated into the environment, into the way that they've designed their architecture. This gives away an aura of welcomeness, which is pretty cool.
And the thing I want to add to is not directly tied to the concept, but I want to riff on what Mike and Mac were talking about, which is that exploration, while something that we wanted to really bring back in the franchise, it's not something that we want to force onto players. Because to me, when I think of what it means to be building a role-playing game, I mean it a lot less in terms of pure mechanics that are RPG and more, going back to the days when I was playing a lot of pen and paper role-playing games, and that feeling of freedom. You get to decide what you want to do, and with a good dungeon master, basically he crafts the experience around where you want to take the story, and basically playing it your way. And to me, that's basically what bringing back exploration means. Is if it's something that you want to keep aside, it's up to you. Of course, it's our job to make it interesting so that we don't want to put it aside. But at the same time, if you want to lose yourself just exploring things for hours on end, you we want to make sure that you have the possibility to do so.
So let's take a look at the next one. This is one of my personal favorites so far. I think we really hit the idea of kind of mystery and danger as part of this. It's a very unique architecture. This is, again, one of the architectures of our new species. Very different than the one you saw before. It's very different species altogether. This one is basically supposed to invoke kind of a sense of danger. Imagine yourself traveling on a UNC or on an uncharted world, rather, and finding one of these ancient tombs or ancient vaults here, and kind of going through these and exploring, meeting new creatures, having different experiences. This is definitely what we want to use as our blueprint for those kind of experiences.
Yeah, and I think the other thing it does a great job of showing are those epic spaces that I think we all love from 80s sci-fi. When you get in there into these spaces that just seem unfathomable when you go in, you're like, what were they thinking when they built this place? And that is part of the mystery that you get to sort of uncover throughout the game as you're playing and throughout the story, which is, yep, there are these amazing vaults or tombs, and there is a inherent mystery behind them, and that's also part of the exploration component of our game.
What I really like about this one is, especially in contrast with the previous one, is that it shows the range, from the previous one that was very organic to this one where, yes, it feels mechanical, it feels cold, but in a way that is, really alien in nature. And that's kind of what we're trying to achieve with the different environments in the game, a wide range of different experiences.
And I think that the previous one was inviting, where this one is the exact opposite, where something is weird, seems you always think it's dangerous, and I think it's in purpose that on that specific concept there is no sense of scale, but I think everybody assume how big it is, and it's also interesting to see how it is clearly designed by an intelligent species, and at the same time for us human doesn't really make sense. So that's also part of an entire, again, cultural discovery and archaeological field of those obviously abandoned places.
There's probably some excellent opportunities to shoot things in the face in here.
Could happen. Could happen.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the next one. So as Mac kind of mentioned a little bit before, the depth of the exploration experience is super important. So far we've shown some stuff about what you're doing in the Mako and what the Mako is relative to the planets that you're driving on, the kind of experience you want to build for that. But the hero experience related to exploration is really important as well. So we want to give the player as many tools as possible to get that, to basically fulfill themselves and go through the planets, explore, learn, research, things like that. So this concept illustrates just one of the ideas that we have regarding that, where this hero will, scan things in the environment. That.
Yeah, and I think I think it's even mentioned in the bio on the blog online if you want to follow it up. But one of the things that we are wanting to do with sort of our main protagonist, our hero in this game, is have someone who is becoming a hero, have someone who is obviously very skilled and capable, but maybe hasn't reached that legendary status that, say, Shepard was when we even started the Mass Effect trilogy. And so in order to do that, we have to make sure that, as Mike said, that person is equipped with the skills and the tools and everything necessary to survive becoming a hero. That will, of course, mean having people alongside you who can help you. But in this image specifically, some of the tools. And I think the other thing I like about this image is one of the other goals that we're trying to do is, because this is about exploration and about sort of you, the player, going out and choosing your path and choosing your way through gameplay, we also want to try to keep the player immersed in the world as much as possible, so that we're not taking you out frequently for taking away from the gameplay, either through an inordinate amount of cutscenes or GUIs or things like that, or taking you to screens. So that's one of the things that we're really experimenting with and trying to really keep the player experience grounded and in the world.
And our ability to use Frostbite and our ability to focus on what we'd call next-gen platforms, aka what's out right now, will allow us to kind of build that more immersive Selima style experience, right?
Yep.
Go ahead.
I think
This for me is, I kind of look at this and I try to look at this one from a perspective of a player or a fan, and this is imagine the possibilities. Like look at that and imagine as a player a universe where there's just so many places to go see and experience and stories to play through and understand what's going on. It's again, going back to what I said earlier about our goal here is to build the biggest Mass Effect game yet. And I think for me, this concept is an illustration of that, where you can kind of sort of imagine what this is, what the possibilities are here when you kind of look at a universe where there's just so many places to go and see and do, and it's just mind blowing from a certain perspective.
Yeah, I think it illustrates also pretty well that idea that with such a massive world, we want to give the player a number of tools to explore it and manage it so they will. So you can imagine whatever you want with what that guy is doing, scanning, as Mike was mentioning, charting worlds, etc., etc. But the important part is those tools that are actually focused on exploration once again.
Because that really is the important point is that, again, just like the previous games, you're going to be running around, shooting, you using your guns, fighting with biotics to the same degree that you have in the past. But whenever you do want to spend time in exploration, we want to make sure that you're provided with the same quality of tools that you've had in combat before, so that it is as entertaining to explore things. And that piece of concept art basically hints at some of what these tools could be.
Yeah, and I think Mac mentioned it earlier, but even that part of exploration, as you just said, also is also about fun. It's not. It's something that you want to do, not something that the game makes you do.
Absolutely.
It's really about fun and having those great moments where it is actually enjoyable to work around the world outside of the classic combat story, etc., etc. part of Mass Effect.
Oh, sorry. We've been talking quite a bit about exploration activities and things like that, but that doesn't necessarily take away or remove the fact that there's a lot of conflict still in this game. This game, there is conflict. There's a lot for your hero to have to solve. There's a lot for your hero to have to figure out. There's a lot of opportunities to shoot guys square in the face. We just want to basically be able to marry those concepts properly so that the experience is a really well-rounded experience. Let's take a look at this one now. So this, for me, this is probably my second favorite of the batch. This, for me, evokes a lot of what about space, right? Mass Effect has always been a game with beautiful terrestrial environments, beautiful places to explore. We want to basically make sure that we're representing, well, what is space? Where are you? What is the larger picture here? And I think this concept speaks to that a lot more.
Yeah, and to add to that, I'd also say we often like to deal in the Mass Effect series with big ideas, very big ideas, bold ideas around, whether it's the original series, organics versus synthetics, but also large themes, and that really sense of scale throughout, not just obviously in the world itself, but in the types of situations that you find yourself in. One of the premises that we've sort of been really driving with this game is sort of a nice dichotomy of it is an epic adventure, but there's a personal journey with it as well, and sort of trying to marry those two things at every step, so that if you see an image like this, you'd be like, wow, that's clearly like that's the epic side of things. But then you see this tiny little ship, coming up to it. Well, what's their little journey? What are they on? What's happening with them? And I think me finding ways to bring both of those. That's ultimately what will make images like this and the vast spaces that we have interesting to people, and more importantly fun and memorable, which is what was the journey I went on, who did I go on it with, and what adventures did we have together as a team, as a group.
Yeah, actually, I think it's important to mention that a lot of concept that we just saw. So the previous one, there was the hero standing there, and before we had someone standing next to the Mako and all that. But the Mass Effect game is also still about relationships, and you're not alone in that world exploring. The important part is actually how do you create relationship in that context, and this is still an absolute centerpiece of our game.
Mm-hmm. And dynamics, of course, given that the context of the game is changing, the dynamics between you and the different characters you interact with has also evolved from the previous context. Going back to the idea of space here, one of the line that I've been using in my head anyway to kind of explain how we want to progress things on that front, it's really to take from the first trilogy space as a thing and make it become a place, to feel that really it's as important a part of your exploration as the rest of the game, right? Again, we have the means, if you're going to be exploring large parts of the galaxy, might as well have part of it not necessarily be stuck on the ground all the time, right? So how do we incorporate that
You might want to explode the biggest part.
Yes, the biggest part. The empty part.
And we all remember what the Normandy meant to players as well. I think we're taking that and trying to bring that concept of exploration into the game as well, with whatever the player can use to travel through this area. So I think that about wraps us up. We've been through all the concepts, and hopefully you've learned and we haven't shared too many spoilers. And hopefully you can take some of the stuff that we said and think and think and think harder and try and figure out what we were talking about. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. I mean, N7 Day is our chance to be able to do this with you, and really appreciate you guys coming along for the journey here.
Yeah, thanks to you guys, Montreal. Thanks very much, obviously, to all the fans who are watching this right now. Just remember, it is N7 Day. We've got a lot of our partners out there with N7 gear and exciting things that you can purchase at some fun deals that you can get today only, I think, or around this time. And stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more in the future for Mass Effect. And get out there, and also don't forget to cheer our DA team on, as they're about a week and a bit away from release. So thank you again very much.
Thank you guys for listening. And yes, as Mike mentioned, it's in 7 days, so enjoy. Go back to your Shepard memories. I'm sure you have a lot. And in the meantime, waiting for more info on the next Mass Effect. Go play DI. Dragon Age Inquisition is awesome. So.
Yeah, I just want to say this Mass Effect community is amazing. I've been part of several different communities through my years in the industry, and this one is probably the most impressive one in terms of just your eagerness for information and your wantingness to be part of it all. Just seeing my Twitter feed kind of blow up today is reassured that, and I just love seeing it. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that we showed you stuff that was interesting to you guys. I trust it is, given that it represents a lot of what we're trying to shoot for without, to Mike's point, having too many spoilers. We've been privileged not only to be able to work with a franchise that is so fleshed out and so revered, but also to be given the time and resources to meet the ambition that we have for the game. So it's one of those classic when it's done game, but we're actually making really good progress. And again, with the recent transition of Dragon Age people into the project, things are really picking up steam right now in a way that we should be able to show you stuff, take it to the next step at some point in the coming months without making any promise, because again, everything is when it's done. Thank you.